Hey babes, welcome back to It's Only Embarrassing If You're Embarrassed podcast. My name is Madison. Thank you guys for tuning in today. This episode, we are going to be talking about things that I wish that I knew before I quit drinking, tips for somebody who might be quitting drinking, tips to support somebody in your life who might quit drinking, whatever you want to kind of take away from this episode. But it's really going to just be a kind of a list of things that I wish I knew before I quit drinking, things that have helped me along the way, resources, and all of that good stuff. So if you guys are ready to dive into that today. On a side note, it is sandal season where I live in North Carolina, so I whipped out my first pair of heels today, wore them to work. I have blisters on both freaking pinkies, both just I worked with my shoes off under my desk for majority of the day, and then I almost made it to the end of the day, and somebody called me at like 4:30 and was like, "Can you come to my office?" And I was like, "Oh, I have such bad blisters." But I didn't tell them that. I wasn't like, based on my blisters, couldn't wait till tomorrow. I still went if you guys were not sure. So I just hobbled in there with my blistered feet, tried to act like they weren't in pain. The things we do as women. All right, back to quitting drinking. Okay, so one of the biggest things that I would always recommend to somebody who is on their journey of quitting drinking is going to AA. And so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about how I ended up going to AA, how long it was before I went to AA, all of that good stuff, because if I had known what I know now, I would have gone to an AA meeting literally the day that I quit drinking. So I never went to AA until I had quit drinking for about 4 months. And let me tell you, the whole time from the beginning of my quitting journey, my therapist had been like, "You should really go to AA. I think it would really help you. It would give you like support, community, all these things." And I'm like, I am not going to AA, certainly not by myself. That was me. So I finally one day get so triggered to drink that I like cancel on a work dinner because I literally just could not go and not have like 8 vodka sodas and ruin my life. So told my boss I couldn't go because my quitting drinking journey was not going well. I did not have the self-control to go. So that was the night that I decided maybe I should go to AA. So this is on a Wednesday, so I now go to AA every Wednesday. So picture this, me on the highway, like angry driving to my first AA meeting. And let me tell you, on the way there, like I was like, I don't have to go. Like, Madison, you could turn around, you don't have to go. And then once I got there and I was in the parking lot, I was like, you could just go home. You don't have to get out of the car, you don't have to go in. I got there, I'm sitting in the back row of AA, just me sitting there like, okay, well, you could probably leave before the meeting starts and nobody would ever even know you were here. And as I'm like debating this in my mind, the meeting starts, and then I'm like, well, now it'd be like more of a like scene to like leave and stay. So I stay, and that's the story of how I ended up at my first AA meeting. Was kind of like being encouraged to go for a long time, not going, and then finally getting to the point where I was, I would say I was pretty like angry with my quitting drinking journey the first time that I went to AA, because I was like, man, my problem with alcohol has gotten to the point that I'm literally not going to work dinners because I know I'm gonna have 8 vodka sodas. Like, maybe I should do something serious about this, like join an AA group. So I had been doing a lot of research about AA, so I'd kind of been like maybe like flirting with the idea for a little while. Like I like in 10 seconds pulled up like one of the tabs that I had saved on my phone that was like local AA meetings near me. That's a cool thing, is AA is offered literally anywhere, all times of the day. I mean, they have meetings that start at 6 a.m., they have lunchtime meetings, they have meetings after work, like whatever your craving is, they got meetings for it. So AA, reasons I wrote down that I love AA and would recommend to anybody: support, community, understanding, shares. Ooh, the shares of AA, I love them. So you can go to like different types of AA meetings. The one that I go to is the Big Book meeting, and so that is just the Alcohol Anonymous book, and we just read chapters from the book, and then we just share things that are pertinent to our life, or if you just have something that's like triggering you to drink that day. And it's really just like basically like a support group of everybody who is there because they want to drink, but they're trying to not drink that day because they don't want to fuck up their life. So if you can relate to that, no, but on a serious note, like everybody there has like, everybody's just very open, honest, and vulnerable about their journeys, and there's no judgment. Like there is some AA friends that I've made in there that are women of all different like ages, backgrounds, everything, and then there are men there of all different ages, backgrounds, like everything. Like if there's one thing about being an alcoholic is it does not discriminate based on literally anything. It does not matter if you're rich, poor, like none of it matters. Just if you have alcoholism, you should go to AA, because there's going to be somebody there that you're going to be like, oh fuck, that happens to you too. Like I remember whenever I went to my first AA meeting, and I did not share for the first several meetings that I went to because like I don't want to fucking be there, you know. And so I didn't share, and but the first meeting that I went to, every single person that shared, I was like, that's relatable, I think that all the time. Like also the AA book is also relatable. And so I remember the very first meeting that I went, it was basically a part of the big book where it was talking about all the different types of alcoholics. And so it was like some people are like they drink every day, sometimes people like have one drink and they can't stop drinking, and I'm like, ooh, both of those are me. And so it just does a lot to normalize what alcoholism is, how it impacts people, and makes you feel less alone and less ashamed in your journey, because nobody that's at AA is ashamed of their stories. They're all just telling things, being open, honest, like trying to heal from their journey, trying to be better. And the other thing that's really cool about AA is it's very faith-based. So like the first step of AA, so there's the 12 steps of AA obviously, and so the first step is admitting that your life has become unmanageable due to alcohol, and then it goes on to basically like turning over your life to like God as you know him, and does a lot of work when it comes to, I would say, the combination of understanding how faith and how a higher power works to help you stay sober. So the other things that I wrote down are, of course, normalization, kind of back to what I was just talking about, like to be in a room of other people that just make what you're going through normalized is so refreshing. The other thing that I love about AA is, so obviously they have the chip system at AA. And so for that, I wrote down recovery celebration. So if you don't know about the chip system in AA, at the end of every single meeting, there is a white chip for anybody who is new to AA, just quit drinking and came back, like whatever. You want to commit that you're going to try to not drink, you get the white chip. Then all the other chips, there's like a 30-day, a 60-day, a 90-day, a 6-month, a 9-month, a year, 18 months, and then like anniversaries. And so whenever people go up and like get a new chip, like it's like a whole thing. Like people are like, oh my gosh, congratulations, so proud of you. Like it's like a whole thing of like everybody just like supporting each other in their journeys, and it is so cool to watch. So that is a little bit about AA, my journey with AA, and definitely one of the things I would recommend doing ASAP if you are quitting drinking, or if you know somebody who is like, I'm quitting drinking, but I'm struggling with this like new normal, like nobody can relate to me, like suggest going to AA to them or send them this video, because it's something that is significantly less scary and a lot more helpful than I personally ever imagined. All right, next thing I wish I would have done or known about quitting drinking is to be honest with my therapist about it. So my last episode literally was about how I realized I was lying to my therapist about the fact that I had a drinking problem, but largely because I was like lying to myself about the fact that I had a drinking problem. And so my therapist has always just been so kind, supportive, helpful, all of the things above. And so getting a therapist if you don't have one, being honest with your therapist about the fact that this is something that you need to unpack, like, is something that has helped me so much, because she's one of the main people that encouraged me to go to AA. And a lot of times your therapist is going to have so many resources that you don't even know about, haven't thought about. And also, like, you're not the first alcoholic your therapist has had, I can promise you that. So they're not going to be like, oh my gosh, no way. Like, also, this is the person you're telling all your fucked up life trauma to. Like, why was I afraid to be like, oh, and I had a drinking problem? Like, that wasn't going to be the straw that broke the camel's back, you know? So, funny little thing just about how, like, going to therapy, being able to talk to my therapist about it, and then also, like, full circle, like being able to tell my therapist, like, oh yeah, I realized in AA I was like lying to you about my drinking problem because I didn't want to admit it, was just like a really funny full circle moment of how much AA has helped me, therapy has helped me, and like the connection of the two and the support of the two really helped me. All right, next thing that I wish I knew about quitting drinking. So I am personally somebody who has struggled with anxiety and depression. And so one thing about being a daily drinker is I essentially went from giving my brain all of this dopamine every single day when I'd been drinking every day, and then all of a sudden I took it all away. So I got incredibly depressed whenever I quit drinking. Like, I've been on antidepressants twice in my life, and this was the second time. Like, I had been on them, gotten off of them, and then had to get back on antidepressants after I quit drinking. And so I'm telling my therapist this. I'm like, I'm so ill. Like, I thought like I was like doing better, got off the antidepressants, and I quit drinking, and then I got even more fucking depressed. Like, what the hell is going on? And so she essentially like explains to me that like basically every day what I was doing when I was drinking is I'm giving my brain all this serotonin that my brain did not naturally have. And then one day I was just like, bloop, nope. And then my brain was like, ah. And then so through getting back on medicine for depression, it essentially was able to give my brain that dopamine again. And then I ended up, like right now I'm not on antidepressants, I'm still on anxiety medicine, but right now I'm not taking those antidepressants anymore. So obviously it does level out after a point. Like obviously right now my brain's not like anymore, but I probably got on them maybe like 2 weeks after I quit drinking, and then I probably stayed on them for a month or two. And if you're somebody who struggles with mental health, or if you were using alcohol as a treatment for your mental health, as I was for surezies, then whenever you take that away, your body's like, hey, so I still needed that thing that like I was getting not through the right way, but like I still need it. So I have a really good psychiatrist now, and so she's basically explained to me that like anytime people drink or do drugs, they're trying to medicate for mental health that they don't have the ability to cope with, deal with, medicate through, whatever. And I can personally say I did that to a T. Like if I was anxious, stressed, depressed, worried, any of it, I would be like, you know what'll fix this? A bottle of wine. And so that's just something very interesting that I've learned just about how the mind works, and also the normalization of that, because whenever this was happening to me, literally I'm like telling my therapist, like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, I feel so weird, I'm so depressed, I'm so angry, like I hate everything, but like I quit drinking and now I'm mad that I quit drinking because now I feel like this, like all these things. And she's just like, yep, that's normal, like unfortunately, like based on kind of what you're doing to your body and then like immediately taking it all away, like your body is freaking out. So that is what happened to me, and also a little bit about how head meds have helped me, because I think there's some things that you can work through without having to be on medication, and there's some things where like my brain, like I may be one of those people who takes anxiety medication forever because my brain may never get to a point where it produces enough serotonin, and if that's the case, then I'm perfectly fine with that. If I end up in a case where I'm able to eventually never have to take medication, that would be awesome too, but I'm not necessarily defining like my worth or my value around either scenario. I'm just accepting that, you know, taking medicine for mental health is just something missing in your brain, just like if something was missing in any other part of your body, you would take that medication, even if you had to do it for temporary times or long times or for your life or whatever that looks like. So just my little plug there to always remember that there's no shame in me needing to take medicine for any sort of mental health, anxiety, depression, mood disorder. And also one thing about being on mental health meds, so I just got on new anxiety meds that I've been on for probably about the past, probably 6 months or so. And let me tell you guys, it is an amazing life whenever you get on the right mental health meds and you're like, holy fuck, could I have been feeling like this the whole time? Who would have thought? So that is also my plug for why you should do it, because I was terrified to get on medication. I was terrified to tell people I was on medication. I was terrified to need medication. I was terrified to think that I needed medication, like all the things. And now that I'm on it, I'm like, oh my God, why is nobody else on anxiety medicine? Like literally, do you know if you have anxiety, you could literally like take a drug that will help you with that. Obviously that's not the only solution. Like obviously I go to therapy and I do other things, but a lot of times to get like the like immediate flow of like serotonin or dopamine or whatever it is that your brain needs, like that is going to be an alternative that helps a lot of people. Alrighty. Ooh, one other thing I wanted to say is, or kind of like my last thing I wanted to talk about is resources. So resources, if you are watching this and you're like, cool, I related to everything you said, maybe I have a little bit of a drinking problem, maybe I need to do something about it, what resources? Okay, so AA groups, multiple times a day. Also, so like I go to AA every Wednesday, but I also travel for work quite a bit. So, like, I've gone to AA meetings in, like, Greenville, South Carolina. I've gone to AA meetings in places in Tennessee. I was in Vegas, like, on vacation on a Wednesday, and I went to, like, AA in Vegas. Like, I've got, like, doesn't matter where I am, I'm at AA on Wednesdays if I would like to continue this journey. If not, I'm going to be drinking probably Wednesday night instead. So, that is one thing that's really cool. And you can also do AA online. There's a lady that I absolutely adore that's in my AA group, and she doesn't always come to the meetings because she is a mother, of course, and so she doesn't always have the ability to come, but when she doesn't, she always talks about how she loves to join the online AA groups and be able to get kind of that same community and support. Okay, resources if you are thinking about therapy potentially helping you. Therapy nowadays is so easy to do. You can literally find like your people online. You don't even have to go to their office. Like you don't have to like go into an office and sit on a couch. You can literally do it via Zoom, via a phone call. You can go to their office if you want to. My therapist personally has the cutest office setup. However, since I'm like traveling for work so often, I don't generally go in person. Generally I'm like, hi, I'm in whatever city, you know. But nonetheless, it's like there's options for therapy nowadays, no matter what price point you're at, no matter kind of what works for you. The therapist that I see, if you're in the Greensboro area, her name's Lauren Atkinson. She is a cognitive behavioral therapist, and she definitely is somebody who is a great resource for quitting drinking. Okay, head meds. So addiction generally comes from a chemical imbalance in your brain. So there's no shame in needing head meds to reset this or recalibrate this. All right, to wrap up, my Pinterest quote for this episode is actually going to be a quote. It probably is on Pinterest, but it's a quote that I learned in AA, which is, I always have the strength for one day. And so on my journey to quit drinking, like a lot of times I would be like, holy shit, I'm gonna want to drink tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. And eventually it gets to the point where you don't want to drink every day. But while you're in that process, the ability to remember like that I only have to have the strength to not drink today, and then tomorrow's bridge will come and I'll cross that then. And there's also a thing in AA they do that's the yesterdays, the todays, and the tomorrows, and it basically talks about how only worry about today, especially in your journey to quit drinking. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode on things I wish I knew before I quit drinking, my little journey that I have been on. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, please leave comments, share. If you think somebody would benefit from hearing this, please send it to them. Subscribe, all the things. Thank you guys for the support and the love, and hope you all have a great week, and I will be back next Monday for the next Mental Health Monday episode. As always, have